Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy AK. Welcome to my show. Thanks for everyone who could make it. And today we are gonna be discussing about something that is very important to myself, to all other fellow members of the community, to people who care about this field, who care about this hobby, paleontology, dinosaurs, you name it, all of the related things alike. And we got a few people here who, as far as I understand, they share. Can we stop with the screenshots for now, please, guys? I said I will be directing the process, so just leave that alone for now. So no screenshots at the moment, please. And so basically, I wanted to introduce some new people as well who we haven't had on the channel, and well, I mean, I'm just gonna call you Maya or Maya Sora if that's okay. So how you doing?
That's
Welcome
fine.
to the channel.
Thank you.
So tell us, well, maybe briefly, while we are still introducing, how long have you been into this hobby?
Um, I would I would first like to start off and say I'm definitely not an expert. I'm not a professional at all. I would consider myself definitely more of an enthusiast. I've loved dinosaurs since I was a little girl, and as I've grown up, it's just grown more into where I've appreciate the different fields of paleontology. I'm also into some forms of geology, so it's all the across the board. But I would say that my biggest passion would be the dinosaurs, and that can go back to my childhood as far as what I've watched. Like from I'm pretty sure everyone knows about Land Before Time,
Yep, that
obviously
was my
Jurassic
start as
Park.
well. Yeah.
Yep, all yep. So just the whole kit and caboodle. But as I became a wife and a mom, my son, he really started to get into dinosaurs, and it just really it sparked my passion again.
How old is he, if you don't
Um,
mind me asking?
no problem. Yes, he's 4 years old.
Okay, cool.
And so and he's been into him since about he was 2 years old. But I would say he got into him because of me, because I made like his bedroom, his nursery, everything was dinosaur themed. So
Awesome,
like that's pretty
awesome.
much all like yeah, he's always known it. So my husband, he's into it as well, but I guess I would say it's really more of like my thing. So I really just wanted to find other people to talk to who kind of get like more so the technical side, just who follow up on the developments of like what goes on in the industry or the community. And someone told me, hey, maybe you want to reach out and try Twitter. I'm really not into social media like that, so I was like, okay, that seems more my avenue. So I joined. I started following some of the. I'm not going to name any names or anything of that nature, but I started following some people in the community who I looked up to, in regards to like their work, what they have to say, as far as a professional standpoint and all of that. And I don't know exactly when I started noticing it, but I just started noticing just like it wasn't talking about anything related to dinosaurs anymore, or just paleontology, or just I started really realizing a lot of their personal opinions about politics or or just what they believe in. They were really trying to find a way to connect that with what is the paleontology field, dinosaurs. And it kind of turned me off. I won't say it kind of turned me off. It definitely turned me off. And I believe what really got me was, and I'm sorry, I'm still learning everyone's names,
No
but
worries.
um, I saw someone. I guess I would just follow the paleo art hashtag. I clicked on it, and I started seeing all these different beautiful pieces of artwork. Whether I agreed with it or not, that's not the the matter of it. But it was just I started seeing people attack other people just because they didn't have a same view. And I was just so confused because I was like, I don't understand what this has to do with dinosaurs.
It became a clusterfuck, hasn't it?
Exactly. It was like I was so confused. I couldn't figure it out, and it was someone who posted something, and I just felt like they were just so nasty, and I just at a certain point I just stepped in and I just said, hey, that's not right. Like, I don't want to hear about this 24/7 either, personal politics or an agenda. And it got to the point where I was really almost about to shut down my Twitter account, and I received a nice invite to this group, to this community, and I will say it's definitely it's definitely a breath of fresh air, if that's just the best way I can put it.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
The one you encountered was my man Aram, and
Yes, Aram. Yes,
yeah,
thank you. Yep.
he's the one who's gonna be a bit late, but he's coming in
Okay.
shortly. I think he said something because I'm checking my phone on parallel to make sure to see who else is gonna be getting in, etc. So no, I mean I get what you mean. It's basically all of a sudden you just decided, okay, I'm just gonna go in there. I'm gonna connect with all those people. Some of them might be people in the field. They might help me out with something. They might recommend me some cool literature. Some
Exactly.
of some of
Yep.
that stuff. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing, oh, if you ain't gonna say anything about this, or if you ain't gonna post a black screen, or if you ain't gonna do this or post this hashtag or that hashtag, you're basically an Istaphobe of some kind,
Exactly.
and then metaphors follow. The rest of the story, and we don't like that over here. That's not how we roll over here. And I've been very I'm basically in the in my 30s. I'm 35 years old, right in the middle of the 30s right now. I'll be 36 this summer actually, so yeah, not too long to go. But point is, I've been into this whole thing when I think it was since I was 5 or something like that. And I've seen how this whole thing was growing, and then I read the books,
Yep.
and I see some of these names, of these paleontologists in there, and I see them on TV. And to give you a bit of a context, I was born in Soviet Union, and when I grew up a little bit and went to school, Soviet Union fell, and I was growing up in what followed as the 90s, the crazy time period in Russia and ex-USSR countries, which was the aftermath. And
Yep.
it was crazy, people would carry, weapons because everybody was afraid, there was some crazy stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on. And everybody was afraid, you know what I mean? But to kind of escape from that crazy reality, we were using this hobby. And there were a few of friends at school as well who were into this, and we were reading at these books and looking all these names, there was no internet, there was no other way to find any information. Whatever came out, we were behind everything, in terms of compared to the West and stuff. And then what happened was, at some point, when I finished my school, I came here to the UK, and I got exposed to forums first time. It was a new thing, going into
Yep.
forums and talking to people. It felt like something crazy cool. I would go into the internet cafe just so I can check my message board and all that stuff. And then I started seeing, then I got into Facebook.
So sorry.
Don't worry about it. I
Yep.
mean, it's everybody's kind of like that right now because it's the
Yep.
whole staying at home and everything. So
Yep. I'm so sorry.
unexpected things are gonna happen. But yeah, anyway, I mean, and then eventually ended up on Facebook, and I see that there are all these people there. All those names, they are actually there. And I started adding, and I started just like networking with them because I was not even realizing these are the same people that I read about when I was a kid. And
Exactly.
but right now, what's disappointing is that even some of them right now are also trying to, use this as a means to basically insert political views or standpoints, regardless of the spectrum, into this hobby. And that's not what I want to do, and that's not what I'm all about. I am all about keeping this neutral. I always wanted this hobby to be about sharing a passion, and even if we do get into debates, we debate only on the subjects that are related to this sort of hobby, and we just basically share ideas, and we examine them, and we scrutinize them, do the science and do the art, do all the fun stuff as well. That's the process. That's what this hobby is all about. And it also enhances your skills, as you actually learn a little bit more about what it's like how it is to
Absolutely.
examine. Have you ever? I don't presume, but have you ever actually been involved in any debates online on these things, or it's like literally new to you?
No, like I said, I just recently opened up the Twitter account, and I, I I was so traumatized by what I've seen. Like I couldn't even imagine trying to have a type of a debate about with anyone at this point, because it just seems like people just go straight to the attack. They don't really want to. I don't know what, like I'm 30, so I grew up in an era where, and it sounds like makes it sound like I'm so old, but I grew up in a time where if it's okay to disagree with people, you're just respectful about it. And from what I've seen, I couldn't even, I don't even see how I could even possibly start that, where with how people are over just with everything that's going on right now, if that even makes sense.
It makes 100% sense, and
Yep.
I 100% agree with you because, as I said, I've been here long enough as well, and many of my subscribers here have been also around long enough to see exactly the type of behavior that you have just described, basically. And I really think it's bad that you had to sort of get introduced to it when you started digging a little bit in that sort of way. But the good thing came out of it that right now you are basically part of something important. And the reason why I think I say it's important is because this is the first time I'm officially going to declare, to say out there that we do not want politics in our hobby. And I suppose that I speak on behalf of many people here who just want to enjoy the hobby and who have, if they want to discuss politics, they have other places for it. The old saying that we always used, when we tell the kids in a kindergarten, we say there is a time and place for everything. That's the sort of stuff,
Absolutely.
they teach you this kind of stuff when you are, what, 7 years old, maybe?
Yep. Even younger.
Even
Or your
younger.
parents should. Yep.
There are certain things that there are places and time for everything, and this is one of those things. And I am just blown. My mind is blown, by the fact that we got so many people out there who are basically about same age as us or older, and sometimes maybe a bit younger, but they are acting. I don't know, like they are basically, like they are just overgrown babies with the numbers going up, but the maturity going to the opposite direction. I don't know, maybe the belt didn't do its trick back in the days, but I'm just kind of speculating at this point. I digress. But anyway, we've got a question for you there, actually, from one of our participants and subscribers as well.
Oh,
Um,
sure. Go ahead.
so, have you, if you want, you can open up if you just click on the chat, it's,
Oh, yep. I see it. Okay.
yeah, you see it, yeah. So it's the one, may I ask a question? Is your kid just started for you, or did you have some books or possibly watch Jurassic Park growing up?
Definitely Jurassic Park. But even before Jurassic Park, it was Land Before Time. Completely obsessed with Land Before Time, and even before that, I know it's a big U.S. thing, and I know he's not. I mean, well, Land Before Time dinosaurs, but Barney. It started with Barney, the purple dinosaur,
Yep.
and then from Barney, I was I was really obsessed with Land Before Time. Like I can't, like it's an understatement um, of what I'm how I'm explaining my love for it. And then my son, he watches all the Land Before Time movies as well. We watch the Jurassic Park movies together. We're a big dinosaur family, and I just, like I said, like just I don't know. I guess I just started seeing, like, I guess maybe a resurgence of people's interest in dinosaurs. So that's also what made me want to reach out to connect with other people who, like dinosaurs as well.
Yeah. So basically, when you called yourself Mama Maya Sora, that in a way that literally translates in your real life as well, because you did mention that, yeah,
Absolutely.
you're a
Yep.
family one, yeah. You
Yep.
got you're the part of the so to say traditional family. You got a husband, you got a kid. Is it just one kid, or you got more as well?
Just one right
Just
now.
one right
Yep.
now. All right, cool.
Hmm.
So we're gonna see if the next one comes, you're gonna get them into this stuff as well, and you're gonna be designing all the different dinosaur styled rooms, I
Yeah,
presume.
it's a requirement in our family. It's
It's a
not even
must,
a.
yeah.
Yep.
Right on, right on. Well, the other thing I wanted to also say that you know how I don't know if you've noticed this or if you've been up to date with that, but you notice how entertainment business and if you are into gaming or if you've heard anything, gaming environment and communities have also become somewhat infected by this whole craziness.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's all about basically sending some kind of political message of some sort. I don't know. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and
Oh,
I don't
sorry, go
really,
ahead.
I don't want that. You know what I mean? I just want to enjoy this good story. It's a bit like we want diversity, but for once, we obviously they don't want to specify what they mean by diversity, because if they start doing it, they're themselves gonna be exactly the Eastophobe words that they project on everyone else. Because
Yep.
once they start listing, the criteria, that's gonna basically make them look exactly as they like everyone else to be labeled as. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's all about this projection, and that's once again an infantile kind of look at things. Oh, here we got a latecomer, Aram. You're gonna have to do some dance for us for being late to the party.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that, guys. I had actually confused the time difference once again, because it from time to time it changes to 3 hours to 4 hours between here, Armenia, and Britain. So that's how I was calculating my time. So again, apologies for the delay.
Yeah, not to worry.
Yeah.
You've got some
Yeah,
praises up there
cheers.
as well. Somewhere we got this latest, like sort of fantasy-esque looking T-Rex that got posted about the black and
Where
white
so?
one. Yeah, if you go to
Let's see.
the live session questions and answers tab, if you just click on that and scroll up a little bit, there's Christopher Lord Grimm shared it, and
Oh yeah, that's mine. Yeah,
yeah, that's yours. Yeah, and he's yeah, basically people are giving you praises for this one, so you missed that.
Oh. Yeah. Well, technically I didn't, so yeah, we'll be able to catch up and
Exactly.
thank
Well,
everyone for that. But yeah, just have to apologize for jumping in this abruptly. But Mama Mayasora, I wanted to take the time to again thank you personally for being so honest and making that statement on Twitter when RJ was trying to berate me.
Shall we just
'Cause I
actually
w-
post the
No problem.
screenshot right here for everybody to
Yeah.
see what's going on? I'm gonna post the screenshot, and we're gonna give our honest take, because once again, it's not, as I like to say, it's not personal, it's just business. But I mean, business not literally, but in a sense that, things happen like that, and it was not right. It wasn't handled right. That's not how it should have gone down. And this was the post that Aram made right here. So if you open this up right here, so for those
Yeah.
who are watching my video when it gets uploaded, you can pause the screen right here. So that's basically very easy and very clear. The person does not want to engage into this whole
Mhm.
political. Well, I mean, you're right here. Why am I saying that for you anyway? I'm just
Well,
saying it as if you're
yeah,
not even here.
I'll actually, yeah, cheers. I'll actually try to explain as.
Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna post
in-
couple more shots. Just
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Here's the thing. I mean, I think the thing that we're here to talk about mostly is the interference of political subjects in our hobby and the things that generally make us happy and the things that we love doing. Now, politics is a subject that, in general, in my honest opinion, should not interfere with art in general. So, but of course, there are certain art forms that could use some political subjects to tell a story or a message, but it shouldn't be as apparent as it has become nowadays. Like when certain enterprises or studios take certain stances. In my opinion, that they should generally have a more neutral approach to these kinds of things. Because when it comes to pop culture, different types of art forms and things like that, people should mainly just have that in their lives as a form of escapism, not something to get riled about. So the problem for me mainly is that, from personal experience, that is that the content that helped me to get to the point where I am as an artist. The content that I watched as a child, the films, the documentaries, the literature that I read as well, were created by people who were mainly from the West, of course. All of this was mainly from the West. And coming from a post-Soviet country where the mentality is drastically different, and subjects like these, prehistoric wildlife or blockbuster movies that represent that subject were very rarely discussed, and were even looked down upon as something that was mainly for children. Now, this is something that I always kept with me. And now to see how the same people who have created these stories and also this type of content used these subjects as a way to interject their own political beliefs and agendas is something that I am strictly against. And as I said, previously, I really don't like seeing political subjects interfere in art in general. So, this is something I want the community to avoid. And when I see, these people trying to berate others, other artists who share the same passion as they do just because they, decided to vote for somebody else or have a different belief system or ideas, it's just completely ridiculous and also uncalled for. So I think we should just try to unite and enjoy our favorite subjects as much as we can, just together, and share our passion, and not just try to seek out people and try to cancel them for having a different opinion in politics. And when I say that political subjects should not be interfering, is there are even more extreme cases when, for example, some people may even disagree with this point that I'm going to make. But even things like that whole Raptor Jesus thing, even that, while it can be perceived in a funny way, still is something that I think should be avoided. And especially when it comes to parody about political subjects, that as well. Now, this might be a bit more of an extreme stance from me, but that's just the way I feel. So that's my main point.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I've, in case you haven't seen already, I've posted the screenshots that you received to basically provide the context to what you were saying earlier on, and that's how we basically met Maya and you. Basically the way it happened, I'll give you a bit of a story here. Aaron, just because by the way, speaking of, I quit Twitter completely a while ago already. I just deleted my account, period. And that's why I cannot actually click on the post. I can see the preview, but I cannot see the whole thing if I try to click on it. And but that's not really an issue because I got my so-called agents all over the place there spying for me, and all that. So if something goes on and if somebody says a dirty word about my friends or myself, I am always going to be out there, taking care of shit, so to say.
They helped me eventually, so yeah.
Yep. That's what we do, and we stick up for this hobby. We stick up for people who genuinely care about this hobby. We don't let people down like that. We stick together, and the whole thing that happened was Aram just sends me this screenshot of this tweet and says, "Look, she said that," and I'm like, you know what? Get her over here, because she seems like she is, not very impressed with what's happening over there. So why don't we just, see if she likes it over here, and if she likes it, maybe she can stay. If she doesn't like it, whatever, you know what I mean? And well, now we're sitting here, and Fandom Menace is responding to this nonsense.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I just want to say that.
Yeah, your first experience in this community, I mean, not the very first, but the sort of second chance at the first impression, so to speak, is basically part of the Fandom Menace of the Paleo Corner now, and that's what I'm declaring for. I'm declaring for Fandom Menace. AKRX channel is now going to be a part of Fandom Menace, in case somebody got any questions about that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say, if anybody has anything else to add to this particular interaction between you and there was There was also Jacob Bartzi. He's also closely associated with these guys like R.J. Palmer. By the way, did Jacob block you as well, Aram, or did he not block you?
No, he hasn't blocked me. But if I have to say one thing, right? I think Jacob Bartz is actually one of the most talented people in the field, genuinely.
Funny enough, I actually agree with you on that. I think.
Yeah, I think I think it would be a disservice to not just admit that and just solely focus on the things that he's said to me. And I can even say the same for R.J. Palmer. While we've had our conflicts, you and me both, Arsen. But I have to admit that both are very talented people, and it's very disheartening for me how angrily they respond to people who share the same passion with them when they don't share the same political beliefs. And I hadn't even, the tweets that I had shared, right? I don't even specifically say what my political beliefs are or what I think in general. They just assume that I think these very horrible things, or they just perceive in their own way. And the way you said, Maya, they try to put words in my own mouth. So it's just not fair, So they don't even know what I really think.
You know what's interesting here, though? It's the fact that they don't care really what you truly think. They already decided for you. And they put that already there. They already projected that image. They already made that choice for you, in a way, so to speak. Not literally, because obviously they cannot make you, they cannot really physically do that for you, right? They cannot make you think something or believe something.
Well,
it's obvious, but I mean, like,
no one can.
In their own mind, they already did that. And whatever you tell them, even if they were to literally, by whatever chance, if you telepathically able to read what is actually on your mind, and if even if it happened to agree with whatever it is that they think, they would not care anyway.
Yeah.
Because you did not follow you did not jump on the bandwagon, and that was the only so-called mistake that you've made. Well, I mean, it's not really the way I see it from my point of view. They are the ones making the mistake, not us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I just, these simple narratives that are always being fed to the population is, I disagree wholeheartedly with most of them. But again, when I say this, again, I'm not specifying on what exactly. But it's always never enough. They just you'll always be a villain to them in some sort of way.
So, Maya, do you want to add something to that interaction as well about that I just posted and say something of your own?
Sure. What I will say without getting too personal about myself, I am Black and I am a woman. And what I don't understand is that not every, and I'm sure you all know that, it's not like I'm speaking to you guys, but people who maybe don't understand that they're going to listen to this in the future, but not all Black people have the same experience. Not all women have the same experience. Not all men have the same experience. Not all, you can keep going on and on and on. And I just really want people to understand, or if there's anything they take away from what I say, is that I know from the experience that I had, from how I grew up, how I was raised, how my parents raised me, the morals and the values they instilled in me, that I know that I really know that there's a deeper agenda going on. And I just urge people to not only use discernment when you hear certain things or read certain things, but to really, really do your research. There are people out here who have some really nasty agendas out here, personal motives, personal things that that they're trying to put on everybody else. And you can't bully people into thinking that you have to think how they think, or you have to feel how they feel, because like I said, everyone has a different experience. There are plenty of people who are, like I said, I'm not into making it about black, white, yellow, green. I understand that we have different races, we have different ethnicities. That's understood, but I don't go around in life making that, you know, my life. That's all there is to life. So I just, and I know, and I'm really trying to choose my words wisely, because I know people can take any little thing out of context, but I'm really just trying to get people to understand that when I say as a black woman, I just don't like what a certain group is doing to try to bully a particular message into the community, because I do not feel that, like, number one, let me just go back. I understand that there's a history of how things got started and all of that. I'm not even going to go into that. But at the end of the day, today, in this year of 2020, we can only control what we have going on today. We can't allow the past to just constantly try to make decisions of how we live our lives today. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what my ancestors really honestly thought, or really honestly said about certain situations. I just don't. And if I sat here and lied and tried to say, oh yes, I do, that's being very dishonest. And all I can do is just, like I said, I can only control what's in my yard. And I just want people to understand, like, when I say, and I know I keep repeating myself, but like I said, I'm really trying to word it the proper way. But as a black woman, I just hope other people see that there's a particular group that's trying to bully an agenda down everyone's throats that doesn't agree with them. And that's just not in the paleontology community. That's all across the board. That's entertainment, that's in our media, it's in our schools, it's all across the board. And as a black woman, again, like I said, before I became a wife and a mom and decided to stay home and raise my family, I was going to go back to school and get a degree in geology. And right now I put that on the back burner, and because that's what I feel is right for my family. And that was another reason why I wanted to get into this community, because I don't feel like I necessarily have to be sitting in a classroom to learn about the field. So before I became a wife and a mom, and when I was about to go into geology, the geology field, there was nothing. I talked to different professors, different students, just to get an idea. There was no one that, my honest word, there was no one that put up a barrier and said I couldn't do it. And that's just the whole entire thing that I'm trying to take. I just want to make apparent is that no one said you can't do that. No one said you can't go in this class. No one said, oh, you can't talk to this particular professor, or if that was the case, then I wouldn't even be talking to you guys right now, if that even makes sense. If I truly felt that. So that's just the point I'm trying to make, that you can't take a paintbrush and just broadly paint it across everyone and just feel like that's everyone's experience. And I've said this before in a certain way, like on a forum or whatever, and I get attacked too, guys. So it's like it's kind of like I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just really appreciative that you guys invited me to this, and at least I can talk about what it is that brought us all together, which is this field, dinosaurs, and all of that. And I hope to learn from you guys, and that's the biggest thing that I hope people can take away from that.
100%, right on. Yeah, you definitely kept it 100 right there. So I just wanted to say, obviously it's a completely different context, and to not get into, again, too much detail, me and Aram, we are both Armenians in our ancestral lines, and we have, I mean, Armenia, because of its location, historically, it has been going through crazy amount of stuff in terms
Yep.
of wars, and in terms of how many people, I mean, starting all the way from ancient Rome, who have been taking it up as a client state or a vassal state, somehow, by the way, all the way through, managed to preserve our cultural integrity regardless. And but the thing is that we've experienced a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, we could probably go all the way back to, I mean, obviously, all the way back to Rome. Then it was the Persian, or well, not Persian,
Absolutely.
but Parthian Empire. Then there was Byzantines. Then there were others, many others. There were Ottoman Empire or Ottoman Empire. There were Mongols or Timurids, stuff like that. There was lots of them. And then, of
Been
course,
through
it
a lot.
was the Soviet Union, and and all the way through. See, the thing is, there were many times when there are so many people who died in specific incidents, and there are still certain events that have not even been, recognized by the government of the said. I would just say oppressor because I don't want to, point directly right now because that's not the purpose of the video. But I can message that to you in private if you're interested for the research purposes. It's a interesting history,
Absolutely. Yep.
but some other time. But anyway, for the purpose of this video, I'll keep it very vague. But the point is that if 1.5 million people, Armenians, died as a result of that certain event at the hands of certain people, which has not even by now by these people's government specifically. We don't have anything against the people. I met many people from that place. They're wonderful people in their own way. They have their own things to put on the table, and we've had wonderful time together. They've always treated me well. I have nothing against them, and I'm never gonna ask them to pay for the mistakes that their overlords, so to speak, did back in the times when those atrocities were committed, or for the fact that their government is prosecuting them for even saying the word, related to that
Absolutely.
incident.
Yep.
I ain't gonna be like
100%,
that.
yeah.
And talking to me and Aram, would you ever consider, looking at us and think that we have some kind of victim complex, that we need fucking, what do you call that, reparations, and we need now everybody to start screaming about it, 24/7, and I don't know, vandalizing architecture and historical monuments or whatever, just in the name of that, so that people can hear us and then give us money or whatever it is that, you know what I mean? Like, do you
Yep.
hear us do that? I don't think so. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm
That's-
saying. We are not trying to insert it into this hobby. We are keeping it to ourselves. We all have our problems to deal with, and we deal with them like adults, for fuck's sake. Sorry my language, but that's just how it
100%,
is.
yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Aram, do you want to chime in as well?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, thanks. And thanks for sharing all that with us, Maya. That's immensely appreciated.
Yeah, I was going to say the
And,
same. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep this short. Actually, it's just that me myself, I just hate being perceived as a victim in general. It's just for me personally, it's insulting. And especially when it comes to other scenarios, when that is being used for someone else's gain, that's even worse. For example, if it were to be, the Democratic Party in the United States, or anything of that sort, that would be the case. And it's pretty sad. But again, I mean, I've heard so many atrocious stories, and have read a lot of things about what my nation has gone through. And I was never engulfed in this sort of victim mentality. Not in any way, shape, or form.
It's just not how we were brought up, though, isn't it? We were brought up to, I mean, for all the faults that our, parents and grands whatever had, for all the criticisms that we have in terms of how we may have thought that certain things they could have done better or differently, and that's a normal thing for everybody growing up, especially for men, I suppose. I noticed that a lot. And but the thing is, they didn't teach us to constantly beg for someone else's approval and be a victim and try to use that to emotionally manipulate other people to do things for us and to insert our problems into other people's lives, or like go into their place like someone else's hobby and start throwing it at them and saying that you have to take this side or else you're this ist, that phobe, that whatever, whatever, you know, all of these different stupid words that you can possibly come up with in a vocabulary. Like,
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
never even thought of that, you know, it never even occurred to us that that was even possible to do. You know, if I knew there
yeah.
was some kind of a good money laundering scheme, maybe I should have really made millions on it and then just fucked off to an island or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, but when it comes to politics being involved, but mainly in our hobbies, or certain subjects being used, in this case, of course, you know, dinosaurs being used to push certain narratives. That's the main thing. That's one of the most disappointing things for me, because again, as I said, having grown up and being influenced by these subjects, it pains me to see such innocent things, you know, sort of being used for such serious subjects. So again, but there's something that I have to point out, right? Now, a lot of people might say, you know, if it were something that you had agreed with, then you wouldn't be saying this. No, I still would persist. I still would say that it's wrong, no matter what it is. The subject in itself is it should completely stay away from that, just as far away as possible, because this is something that people should enjoy. People should take their minds off serious things and focus on it, and it should just be either a hobby or your profession that you love. Politics in general is a subject that always there are always disagreements there, no matter what you do. So again, this is something that always should be avoided, and I'm pretty sure that AKRX would agree with me as well, because no matter what the message is, it's still wrong to use this to use such innocent subjects to push a certain narrative.
I agree with you 100. Well, no, not 100. I agree with you 200%, man, with that. Because here's the thing: no matter what side of the spectrum, whether you might believe it's the best and the most virtuous position, if such even exists, right? Imagine if there is a hypothetical like stance that is so perfect that it's practically impossible to scrutinize or criticize. Even if it were something like that, it has no place in here, in the hobby. It's all
100%,
gotta be in a place where it's appropriate. This place here, you know, if you're gonna be putting politics and identity politics especially and all of that stuff in here, it's gonna ruin the enjoyment. It's going to derail the topic. It's gonna divide people. And I've been part of many hobby communities, and every time I notice that one of the things that the common denominator why I ended up leaving them, as a matter of fact, now that I remember, was that people started frequently, first jokingly, and then they started kind of more often bring up and squeeze in politics into it. At which point it kind of became very apparent who was on what side, and then they started kind of using it to wind each other up, and then eventually it started escalating a little bit, word by word, you know, and before you know it, you're already sitting there and you're thinking, guys, can we just keep this somewhere in a different place, or I don't know, maybe get a room or something and discuss it somewhere else? But when my requests were ignored, and I was being very polite about it, you know, I wasn't just sitting there screaming my lungs out, be like, shut the fuck up, you know, you motherfucker. I wasn't doing that. I was being nice about it, you know. And I just sit there baffled completely, and I just left the place, you know. I just left, you know, there was lots of good people there at first, as it seemed, and then it turns out that they didn't care, you know, about the fact that people wanted to just enjoy themselves, you know. Because the beauty of social media and all these programs that we're using here is we have a choice of how we can interact. You know, it's there for us, for our convenience specifically. It's not like sometimes even in real life when you talk, and somebody overhears your conversation, you know, and it kind of becomes unavoidable and you have to keep your voice down or you have to go to a different room, all you have to do is either just message privately or just do it in appropriate place where people are all for it, you know what I mean? It's really easy. It's not a rocket science. But apparently, no matter how easy you make it, there's always gonna be some way to, you know, get this shoehorned in, and that's not good. And by the way, those are really nice skeletal images. I mean, we'll definitely discuss them sometime again. But yeah, pretty nice skeletal, I guess, overall. Probably comparable to all the other work I've seen. But yeah, anyways. So let's see what else. I mean, there's been some other incidents that we had. We've had an incident. Well, unfortunately, Mike is not here. I mean, he's shown as away, but he would have been able to maybe say what he thinks a little bit, because Mike is the kind of guy who is he seems like he's very sort of quiet and shy, but he's the kind who's very observant, and he reads the situations all the way through, you know. He can see things going on, you know, before anyone else can see it. He's one of those type of guys, and he's very perceptive. And but I'll post it here anyway. There's just some really absolutely disgusting forms of behavior that I've observed, that I've been sent by. Now let me just see if it's just a couple screenshots of these. So it's a very classic mentality of let's basically just, you know, ostracize these people completely, and because, I don't know, they don't like whatever, they don't like your stance, and then they start inserting other things into it. So let me just quickly grab okay, I found the screenshots. Sorry, it's just I want to make sure I post the right ones so we can stick to topic and then just eventually move on to the next ones. We're happy.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot of them, as you can see. And RJ Palmer, this guy, by the way, he blocked me on every single platform because, you know, I don't know why, to be honest. I mean, I invited him several times to have a conversation. I confronted him about throwing some accusations. By the way, I want to use this as an opportunity to say that if he is watching this, he is still welcome to come around and have that conversation and perhaps explain and own up to what he said in terms of all these, you know, accusations towards me in regards to how I was consistently, purposefully harassing people like Paleo artists, and how I assaulted people, apparently. So I want him to come here and explain himself a little bit, and the only form of response, RJ, if you're watching, I'll accept, is if you come here, we have a session, it's gonna be moderated, we're gonna talk about it, take turns and everything, keep it civil, and we are gonna put this onto public scrutiny for everyone else to see outside of that little Twitter, you know, bubble, well, where you guys, you know, sit in your own echo chamber smelling your own farts. So we'll do that.
Would also be a good opportunity to put a lot of things behind.
And if he, of course, if he happens to wanna be like, you know what, I think that was really not cool. You know, I realized that was not really good to do that. I own to it. My bad. You know what? Fine, that's perfectly fine. If he's gonna let go of that, and if we are gonna be cool at that point, and we can just stick to just discussing Paleo without taking everything personal, then he's even more than welcome to come here. I'm telling you right now. He's not my enemy. I don't really care. I don't really see him as my enemy. You know what I mean? In fact, I never did. I just, all I wanted to do at some point, I just shared my feedback and shared my opinion. At which point, at some point, actually, he even just asked me when I said something. Yeah, well, not really my thing, but not bad. And then he just said, well, what in your opinion is this? And then I said what I liked, and he just started basically disrespecting it. I disagreed. We disagreed, but for some reason, it kind of turned into a shit show instead of, you know. But then again, back in the days when that first happened, I was different as well. I was a little more hot-headed. I was kind of going a little bit maybe Joe Pesci at him at sometimes, but not quite, you know, the same way, like, you motherfucker, you know, like, not quite like that, but a little bit more polite than that. But I admit that I may have been a little bit like that. But right now, you know, we've grown up, at least most of us, I hope, and we're all different, and we can go back and revisit some of the old conversations and have a fresh conversation again. And maybe if it's still possible, and if both sides are willing to, you know, we can repair these relationships, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we have a common subject that we both like, provided that, you know, on his side of things, it's also a genuine interest rather than just another way to get attention for whatever reason. Because he seems to really like to get attention only, of course, when people agree with him, and when people just, you know, repeat like everything that he says. But the moment somebody disagrees, you notice what happens when someone disagrees, right? Everybody all of a sudden becomes an Istaphobe. Everybody all of a sudden becomes bad man, you know, bad AK, bad whatever. Everyone is bad. But hey, what can you do? So there is that. So I think people have already caught up to the screenshots at this point. Then they see how all of this bad stuff that they're talking about here, they're talking about Mike. He's the guy who I've recently just uploaded a video with. Mike has never freaking heard of fly, as far as I know. You know, he's not that kind of guy. And I was very disgusted to see all of this stuff. You know, it's just, it's ridiculous, man. I'm just really, this is the kind of stuff that I don't want here. This is the kind of stuff that if anybody tries to pull that shit here, I'm gonna be taking heads off. Not literally, metaphorically, of course.
Yeah, and funny you should mention that, because when it comes to me personally as well, there are so many instances when I just catch myself being absolutely infuriated by some of the things that I see or read from these people. You know, when they try to interject their own narratives into the paleontology community, or paleoart community. And then I try to calm myself and say, you know what, you don't need to, you know, burst out or leave a very crass response. Just ignore it. And when you suggested the idea of doing a video with a discussion, I said that would definitely be the best way to leave a response to all this, and hopefully it does reach a lot of people, and I genuinely hope that it will get some people thinking too. Although of course I don't have that much of a hope, but you know, but one can do their part at least. So
yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, hi Jeffrey, welcome to my show. Jeffrey's like a regular here anyway. We do Paleo Talk episodes with us. Jeffrey, do you want to put your mic on for a second and say hi to us? Don't be shy. Oh no, he's typing. He's typing something.
Oh.
Probably. Okay, he doesn't have a mic. I thought he was gonna say he lost his voice because he was, you know, practicing his voice acting or whatever he was doing. He's quite good actually at voice acting. But oh, that was the technical issue that he was talking about. There we go. Okay, no worries, man. So, welcome anyway. Glad to have you here as always. In case you don't know, Mama Maya Sora, that's to introduce you. This Jeffrey is the curator from Utah, from the museum. I keep forgetting the name. It's a dinosaur park style museum with like sculptures outside, and they've got the skeletons inside. So Jeffrey, do you want to type in the name of that museum? Yeah, there we go. Eccles Dinosaur Park. So
nice. Yeah.
And we don't have Jason with us. Cybersukas, I think I don't even know. He's probably, he's offline. He's probably gonna be busy because he's really busy lately. Yeah, the Cybersukas guy, he's an actual paleontologist as well. We've done an interview a long time ago with him. We need to catch up. But anyway, so I've noticed, Maya, you have brought up a very important point. You want to comment on that first, and then I will just give you some of the actually direct hands-on experiences that I've had with that debate, in terms of when you said of people bullying about why there not being enough women in paleo, you know, and how it's a big turn for you. Do you want to unpack that a little bit for us, please?
Sure, no problem. I've noticed that, or I've seen a push rather, where I'm just gonna say it. It from the outside looking in, it seems like it's a feminist agenda that's being pushed, that that women are being somehow mysteriously kept out of the paleo community, and I completely disagree with that. I mean, I just shared earlier how I was going to go back to school to get a degree in geology before I got married, and I mean, everyone was just so welcoming and open arms. So from that experience that I had, and when I'm seeing online that, there's not enough women in this and XYZ, where if, like I said, if you really want to do your research, you can find the answer to that. But I don't want to get into that. But I don't think that's what it is. It's either something that you're into, whether you're male or female. It's either something you're passionate about and you want to continue pursuing it. And if you do, I just don't agree with, that there's this hidden agenda to keep women out of the paleo field and the STEM field in general. That's something that really irked me, because I also, like I said, being a mom of a little boy, and he's going to grow up as well. I don't want him to feel like he has to dumb himself down, or he can't do what he's naturally good at or what he's practiced to be good at, because he's withholding a female from being the best she can be, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what else is interesting? Now, if you don't mind, by the way, sorry, I didn't mean to bulge in. Have you finished that one, or did you want to continue on this one, Maya?
Oh no, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good. You can go on. Yep.
All right, cool. Cheers. Well, first of all, let's quickly welcome Brandon. How you doing, man? Thanks for coming.
Hi, Brandon.
Oh, he disconnected. Damn it.
Right.
Yeah, must be
All right.
lagging or something, or maybe he did something wrong. Well, let's see. Maybe he might come back. Yeah. Anyway, so I was gonna say that we had okay, he's back. Brandon, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello there.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, we're just talking
Hi,
about. Welcome to the show, by the way, Brandon. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get used to this thing. It is the first time part of it.
All right, cool. No worries, man. No worries. But anyway, the way we do it is that if you wanna when you get a chance to talk and chime in, you can switch the microphone back on, and while you are listening, to keep the background noise at the minimum, we try to keep our mics off. Except for me, obviously, because I'm the program host and because I'm the boss, I get to decide how I go about it. I'm joking, but but yeah. Anyway, now that you're familiar with the procedure, so we're just quickly gonna fill you in on what's going on. We are just bringing up the next part of, this whole thing about now some girls trying to make these. I would literally just call them shitposts, to be honest, at this point, because that's all they are to me anyway. Trying to shoehorn their feminist agenda and make it out as if, and just make up this myth, as if women are being purposefully kept out of the field. Now, there are several problems I have with that, but before I go into that, I decided, there was an Instagram post she made. Unfortunately, I can't show it now because I don't have it on my computer. If I find it later on my phone, I'll just post a screenshot of it over there. We had quite an interesting dialogue exchange there, and by interesting I mean obviously you would probably expect how it went. Not how I planned. I mean, I was hoping that, because if I could, help the person to work out what's going on and potentially maybe debunk the myth and say, hey, you're not being oppressed, by the way. It's all great, anybody can do it. Everybody happy, right? Well, fat fucking chance. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they don't want to be proven wrong. It's like they want to keep, they invent this idea, and then they just want to try to find reasons to reinforce that idea rather than have the opposite, of being proved to them, of being proven to them. And when we interacted, that was not a pleasant interaction, in a way that, there was a complete lack of structure in the conversation from her side. It was all emotionally charged. It was all about this nagging, and all of that stuff. There was no arguments whatsoever being made. Anytime I tried to ask a question, it's all about me like mansplaining. Well, I mean, whatever. I guess I've been mansplaining for a long time now and got almost 800 subscribers from my mansplaining, haven't I? So, and then the other thing as well is okay, so you got some screenshots there. Okay, cool, thanks, Christopher. But yeah, Christopher is freaking amazing to hear, man. He's totally like keeping us up with this whole thing. But yeah, anyway, so it didn't end very well. Me and Mike, by the way, both ended up engaging. There was another guy from Netherlands, a very young dude, also, you know, just wanted to, you know, we all engaged not because we're trying to get her and try to ask her these gotcha questions, but we're trying to really kind of see that what would happen if we try to really help, you know? Would it make any difference? Rather than just be going in, and instead we said this and that and that, and then, well, it resorted to insults, and at which point I just made a few jokes how she assumed my gender or whatever and some other stuff, and I just fucked off eventually. And when I was trying to go back, what happened was that she just blocked me. As usual, everybody gets blocked whenever you start seeing that you're winning the argument. So that was the end of that. Now what I want to say is, how freaking dare you, those who I'm talking about right now, how freaking dare you say that some reason whoever, whatever colored white men have the privilege. Are you trying to tell me that women are not good enough and therefore everyone else has to, you know, it's like they're trying to imply that women are not good enough, you know, for this, and therefore they have to give, you know, privileges and stuff like that. And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just really, really bad. By the way, Christopher, can we delete the private messages unless they've been authorized by the said person? I thought it was going to be a public thing, so can you delete them for now? And if Mike approves it, if he gives you know, his agreement to post them here, then you can post them again, because I didn't know they were private messages. I thought they were, you know, public forms. So I scrolled up so we cannot pause on them and see them for now. So let me know when you have deleted them so I can basically scroll back down again.
I actually wrote a text to Michael and asked him if he'd like to join us, just in case.
Yeah, I wrote him as well, and let's see what happens. Hopefully he comes in later. But yeah, I mean, this is crazy to me. You know, it's the same thing, pushing politics into this. Why do you need to push politics? I mean, if it was really all about gatekeeping like that, Maya, do you think you would be here right now? Do you think do you think I would ask Aram, say, Aram, can you just quickly message her before she leaves permanently? Can you message her and invite her over here and, you know, let's have fun together? Do you think I would have done that if there was truly something like some kind of thing going on that we were trying to gatekeep women out of our hobby? Do you think that would be the case, or do you think you would not be here if that were true?
I wouldn't even be here. So it's just, that's just why I just boil it down to, like I said, I get attacked too when I try to bring it off of a sense of coming logically instead of basing it off of emotion. And it's just, I've learned that sometimes you just have to wash your hands of it, because people are just going to believe what they want to believe. Yeah. And there are women that I look up to that, and I just ask them sometimes. I'm like, well, or I think to myself, like, well, if that was the case, then how did they even get to this point? Like, women before you who were in it, I don't know. And that's when I just realized that they take all logical reasoning out of it, and they just want to put a false narrative based off of to get an emotional response out of people. Yeah. So yeah, and it's just like, it's very sad. I mean, it was already sad, like I said, with the race stuff, but then when they take it to, where they try to divide by the genders, where that's a whole nother topic where it's just like, wow, like, why can't we just talk about dinosaurs? Like, that's just what I don't understand.
Yeah, 100%. Like, how dare you not be a victim?
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
It's insufferable. Sorry, did you say the audio just dropped? Can you hear us now, Christopher? Let's just get a confirmation to make sure that the audio is still okay and everything is being recorded and stuff like that. Let's just quickly get some comments. Right, I
Yeah,
think
exactly,
we're okay.
Z-Boomer. That's correct.
Yep, 100%
It's
right
not-
on. Let's like that one as well. Thumbs up.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it, of course, yeah.
So yeah, do you know what else I wanted to say in addition to that story that I've just said as well? She actually, as a matter of fact, when I looked up her bio, you know, and then I had some pictures, you know, sent to me as well that she is apparently works in the Museum of the Rockies. And then, you know what else is funny? When she posted a picture sometime later, you know, with herself and a bunch of other ladies, mostly, with maybe like one or two guys, and it was something like a field trip or like a co-workers or whatever. So that's already given me a sense. I was like, okay, so you're saying that females are apparently being kept out of the field, and somehow you're posting picture with your colleagues, most of whom are females. Not to mention that you're also not giving credibility and recognition to many other female paleontologists out there right now who are present, who have made some of the most groundbreaking studies that we frequently even cite in our debates and discussions up to this day, and that's just disrespectful to them. Just because you believe or try to make it look like you believe in that or make others believe in that, you know, more like the latter, that, you know, Mary Anning, bless her for whatever her achievements were back in the days, she was the only one, so to speak, you know, and she's the only one who needs to be praised for it. But what about all the other women in the paleo right now? What about all these amazing scientists who done these crazy 20-page long, you know, works in biology or biochemistry about feather evolution, like Danielle Dwally, or Ankylosaurs, you know, studies like this, what's her name, Victoria Arbor, and there is a doctor as well, I think Dr. Ashley Hall, who does the prehistoric sharks, and generally is a shark specialist, I believe, because she's done an interview with some of our common accomplices, and there were a few others I can think of if I really sit, you know, tight on it. There's the other one, Dr. Jason, actually used to be her assistant back in the days in the lab. Her name is Lindsay Zano, and she was part of this study, Schweitzer et al., which, by the way, discovered this Tyrannosaurus specimen, which had medullary tissue, which was the evidence that was used to support the hypothesis that was the 100% well, not 100%, but, you know, it was based on the hypothesis that means that this particular specimen is a female because of the presence of medullary tissue that indicates that the dinosaur is female, and that's part of the things that theropods also have in common with the bird lineage, which they gave rise to later on. You know, what about all those people that I just listed? And that's not even all of it. You know what I mean? Are you going to give any credit to that, or are you going to still pretend like they are being all oppressed and they are not being let into the field? And how about yourself too? You know what I mean? Those Facebook, you know, when I went to her Facebook page, do you know what I saw her there? I saw her description, and she's apparently a fossil collection manager in the museum. I mean, that doesn't sound like being oppressed, does it? I mean, I sure as hell cannot just walk into the museum and use my whatever privilege, because, I mean, I'm still trying to work out, Armenians, are we actually like white? Are we browns peoples, or are we some kind of other peoples? I'm not actually still sure what we are at this point. So I don't even know. I mean, and every single person, coincidentally, that whenever people use pictures, you know, try to compare me to like Therian Reed, they say this football player, and I even once been compared to Marlon Wayans. Don't even ask me why. And everybody, by the way, somehow it's always black person that I get compared to when it comes to looks. I don't understand why. And so I don't know. Maybe that's a question for my parents somehow. I'm not sure what's going on here. But regardless, this is just really silly. You know what I mean? You have all these things there, and somehow you're still complaining, and that just tells me a whole lot of things. But that doesn't. But if anything, it doesn't tell me you're oppressed. It just tells me that you got some kind of insecurity going on, and you need to just go and see a therapist or something. Mike, I wanted to ask you. I've already posted the screenshots of your exchange on Twitter that you had lately because of how these guys have treated you.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to give us something about yourself. How do you feel about that? And just generally, what the hell happened, you know, what have you done? Apparently you are guilty of some crimes or something, and if something happened that I didn't know or didn't see, tell us all about it.
So I guess there are a few questions in there. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of over it now. Like I was a little upset at first because, well, more the one person just sharing personal details about myself. Yeah, that's not cool. And but no, the one got all because yeah, the one was upset that I unfollowed him. I don't know how he noticed so quick. I mean, I've been unfollowing like most of these people, honestly, on Instagram. I was already tired of most paleo stuff already, and then this craziness just sort of final straw. I don't need to see this anymore. So, and then all their little virtue signaling, I had to poke a little bit of fun at it, so that added to it, too, for them getting upset at me. I mean, I guess I probably could have explained my point of view a bit better, but I didn't really want to get into it with anyone. I just wanted to poke a little bit of fun at it. And then, and then RJ, perused my Twitter to go see what horrible, nasty things I've been liking on there. I mean, I'm curious to go look and see what he was so upset about, but I mean, it could have been literally anything. Who knows with these people? And yeah, I think that's everything.
I see what you mean, man. I see what you mean. And that's the thing. We would not want to lose you know, to this nonsense because of how much stuff you've actually contributed to generally to the hobby. You know, you are one of the coolest and the best sculptors that I've ever met. Well, met kind of, sort of, you know what I mean, encountered, I would say, which actually happened really random. I just stumbled upon your post somewhere, messaged you just as randomly. We just started, you know, just literally, you know, talking about some random stuff and commenting about things, and then I realized that it seems that we kind of connected, you know, we understood each other, you know, right away, and that's how I knew that we were gonna, you know, become friends and acquaintances, eventually friends, and etc. And ever since then, for those of you who are new and who haven't watched the video, watch the video that I've just uploaded previously about you know, interviewing Michael, and just to let you know that he's also got really amazing dinosaur models, and we need to create a profile for you here, by the way, sometime later when we finish the video, so that you can upload your artwork here once it's finished. So all of your finished stuff, you can upload it here, and you can sell it from here too if you want. So anyone else can do the same if you've got your finished pieces. Aaron can sell his prints here as well. So this is gonna be a proper kind of place, you know, for the hobby at this point on. So it's gonna be all hunky-dory. So is there anything else that you wanted to add about that, or are you kind of, like you said, or are you mostly pretty much over? Oh, nice. Yes, Christopher shared your T-Rex bust that you've done previously.
I'm actually working on a new one right now. Well, it's not going to be a bust, but I mean, we'll see if it becomes anything whatsoever.
Make it into a full-scale size. I dare you. I'm doing it eventually as well. I'm making a full 1 to 20, 60 centimeters, 24 inches Tyrannosaurus Rex model kit. Let's go.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. After like 1500th time, maybe you will decide that, yeah, I'll do it finally. In case you guys didn't get the joke, Mike has this thing that he's a perfectionist, and he would do 5 times before he actually happy with something.
I think it's more procrastinate / impatient. So like, I'll sort of work on something really fast, and set it aside for a while, look at it again, decide I hate it, and then I'll redo it again.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so anyway, thank you for giving your perspective a little bit, and everybody understands what's going on. So it's the same classic example of trying to insert, you know, some political nonsense and try to blame and bully you for it. It's basically the same thing that everyone else has shared so far, And just wanted to ask now: does anybody else want to come on for the microphone and just discuss anything regarding this particular topic as well? Is there anyone else who wants to do so? Waylon, if you want to go, please turn your mic on and say hello. Right, can't hear you yet. Ah, damn it. Okay, cool. So if you want, try to see if you can fix it. If not, then unfortunately I don't know what else, because I couldn't hear you. So anyone else wanna jump in? Aram, do you wanna take over for a bit, and then we'll wait to see who else might wanna have a go.
Yeah, for sure.
Just
so,
add whatever you have in mind, and just continue with.
Yeah, just wanted to say how I genuinely felt when I saw those posts and how they were coming after you, Mike. I mean, it was just atrocious how they were behaving, sort of in their own echo chamber, just trying to come after you in every way they could. Just because you just simply poked fun at the narrative that they so blindly are slave to. So yeah, it really it actually really pissed me off when I saw it, and that also kind of fueled me to make that statement when I made that tweet and when I posted a progress shot of the Rex that I was drawing, which is not supposed to be accurate, by the way, just by the by, but yeah. So it was yeah, and also I felt pretty sad too. Just really annoyed me. But I actually, well, I mean, if you can jump in, I mean, so the three of us could talk. I actually wanted to ask you. I mean, this might be a kind of a personal question, but do you also work a full-time job, or do you do the sculpting full-time? Because you know why I ask? Because since now I do art full-time. Sometimes it still it feels kind of surreal for me that I can continue to do this as a full-time job, since I adore it, and I can just constantly work in this field. So just curious to know, how you how much of a presence it has in your life, and how much you rely on it.
All right, Mike, back to the mic, please.
Was that directed at me? I'm like,
yeah, he was asking you.
Yeah.
No, well, when I first started, I was going to college, which, I mean, I had a lot of free time on my hands. I was working part-time, and then when I was done, I was working full-time doing this stuff. But then, as soon as I made my first kid, I sort of quit my job. So yeah, I guess you could say this is my job now, and I'm not working elsewhere at all. But
Brilliant.
I should I don't stick to it as much as I probably should be. Like, I mean, I'm living at home, so it kind of I have that security that I don't have to be at it 24/7. But I mean, I probably should be at it more. Well, I mean, right now it's a bit difficult because I have other projects on the go, like yard things, making a greenhouse and stuff. But
right, yeah.
Like, as far as you asked how much of an impact it has, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, in general, how much you rely on it, as in just mostly it would be. I was asking in terms of. Since you do you work a full-time job as well, but yeah, so since you don't, I mean, it's still, it makes me very happy to know that, because it's for me personally, since this is something that I've always pursued, not just in terms of the subject, just in a sense that I want to always have a job that can never be technically perceived as a job. Is just do something that I genuinely adore and have an emotional investment in. And when I see others who have taken the same path, it always makes me genuinely happy, no matter who it is. Because this is something that I've always strived for, and for a certain period of time in my life, I thought it could never be achieved, even because who doesn't doubt themselves from time to time, but especially coming from a post-Soviet country where in general, online entrepreneurship or doing, especially working in the art field, just as an illustrator, would not have been something as hopeful for your loved ones. So that's why. As I said, I'm genuinely happy to hear that, since because seriously, man, you're literally one of the best, if not the best, in the field. I got to tell you. So I mean, I'm not just saying that. So it's genuinely awesome to hear that you're doing this full time, and hopefully it. I mean, well, I don't mean to say hopefully. I'm 100% sure it's going to get you to the top, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I definitely I'm not the best. I'm not that great. Like,
No. Trust me, they are. I mean, I have
yeah.
problems with taking compliments too, because an artist should be their own their biggest critic. But I've learned to take the compliment as always, and especially my parents tell me you're too modest. Don't be that modest. And I'm like, no, it's actually, I'm not too modest. It's just that I try to see the flaws in general and just be more objective about my own work in order to progress. So that's totally understandable. I totally get it. But one time we were speaking with Josh, and it was like, you know what, you're gonna take that praise. You're gonna take that praise like a man. So I have the same for you.
Yeah. No, yeah. No,
Mhm.
but
Okay. Sorry, Mike. Did you wanna say something, or sorry, I didn't mean to bulge in. Just.
what was I gonna say? I was just gonna say, I guess the reason that I always get defensive with that compliment. I mean, I do have a taking compliments, but because I do think there are a lot of really skilled sculptors that you just never really see, and it's like I'll see the odd one, and it's like way better than me, and no one knows about you. So that's why I sort of.
Right. Yeah, I understand. It's no, it's just that.
I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do. We'll try to see if I can get him over here. Obviously, you guys know Shane Fox from United States, and I mean, I own his Acrocanthosaurus 1:20 scale, which I still haven't painted yet because I got a long queue of both the work that I need to get done and also to paint up as well, because like half of my shelf is like Michael's kids. So, but anyway, I wanted to say that we need to get him over here, and maybe we could also have like an artist sort of artist focused chat, so to speak. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be great, and he would really, and I mean really, he could share some awesome experiences with his work if he is obviously willing to, because I don't know how shy he is when it comes to going into these kind of conversations and stuff like that. Maybe he likes to stick to himself more, but we'll find out. Well, I'll see if I can talk to him about it. Microphone, Waylon, are you ready to get to the microphone? Let's test and see how well you fix it.
Yeah, let's
hey man, how you doing? Welcome to my show. How is it going?
Good. It's great to be here. Yeah, politics. Whew.
Politics in our freaking hobby, man. Like, what the hell is going on? Where the world is coming to?
The worst, yeah. I try unsuccessfully, because I'm a jackass, but I do try to avoid politics on my social media accounts. And it's because I just hold a bunch of stupid views on stuff I have no control over and don't affect me in the slightest. So yeah, I'm in that high risk group. I know it. I'm aware, but I spout off, and I hear those machetes grinding. Like I post some crap, I think, and the frowny points just start piling up, and that guy I got into like some drunken keyboard fight with 26 years ago, he's like showing up, liking everything my opponent says. Yeah, I mean, that guy, right?
It's what we call the cheerleading. Yeah, we do that as well.
Right? Yeah. He's like whipping out a bullhorn. Hey guys! I found that dumbass we fought with on AOL chat in like 1992. You know. And
Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Utah.
Oh, you're from Utah.
USA.
You're basically the same as Jeffrey.
Yeah. Like we're just a couple minutes away. You know, like maybe 30 minutes away.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, it's horrible. I hate it. You know, and you know, it's just like the memeing and the shit talking and the dog piling. You know, and I get in these fights sometimes, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I trying to don my little Mr. Peanut monocle and, you know, express an opinion on something that won't matter to anyone in a few months after, like, the news stops covering it and it moves on to the next crisis. So I just don't even see the point anymore, you know. And as for what to do, well, I think we just better direct our energy towards, like, creative endeavors, like how to, I don't know, mount protective cages to our monitors so we can just huck the trash can at it now and then. So that's my point of view.
No, exactly. I mean, and that's the whole thing. We want to keep our hobby, as I said already, and I'm going to repeat it occasionally because, you know, sometimes my new listeners might come in randomly as it happens, and I'm just going to repeat that again. We're all about trying to keep our hobby clean of all these politics, and we want to be neutral. We want to just enjoy what we do here. We want to escape. We don't want none of that bullshit around here, and if we wanted politics, we always know where to find it. But unfortunately, it seems that no matter where we try to go, it always seems to find us in the forms that we don't really seem to enjoy, and that's the problem. And I wanna, you know, this is something interesting. Okay, so the top one finds that paleontology is one of the few subjects both conservatives and liberals like about equally, and it's one of the last fields of common ground available. So, can you believe this? Anyway, Waylon, why don't you come back to the mic and tell us a little bit, how long have you been into dinosaurs, and how did you start the hobby, and what are your plans, in brief, for your hobby projects, if you have any?
Yeah, well, you know, I got into the hobby, paleontology in general, probably when I was like, oh God, really early, 5. My family went on a vacation to the Denver Museum of Natural History, and I saw that big T-Rex mount with its foot raised that Bakker made, and that's what got me into it. And then, of course, you know, Jurassic Park came along and just solidified my interest. And you know, and I found out early on that I was pretty good at drawing, and so instead of going into paleontology as a scientist, I decided, well, screw it, you know, I'll become a paleo artist. So I did that early on, like, you know, the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and you know, I had some success, but life kind of got in the way for a while, and I put it aside, and now I'm
sorry,
trying to get
can I
back.
just quickly interrupt you there? Did you say life or wife got in the way?
Well, they're kind of the same things, aren't they? But yeah, no, just life.
Right.
You know,
I just couldn't help it. Sorry, carry on.
I had to kind of stop and actually make some money, you know, so that I could continue living. But yeah, so I just kind of, you know, I just kind of got into that recently. Again, I drew a Ceratosaurus skull. I'll post it here in a minute. And I'm working on some new artwork, which I think is going to be it's going to take things in a different direction. It's something I've been working on for like 13 years, this concept. So it might even be part of like a book or something that I write at some point. But I don't want to give too many details away. I want it to be kind of a surprise.
The more you know, there's one of those things that the more you reveal about the current work in progress and your plans, the more likely that you're probably never going to do it and see it to the end, because you waste all that energy on talking about it, and then it kind of burns out when you start to sit down and actually do the work. So you want it to be the other way around.
Right, exactly. And that's actually something that I saw Michael Crichton say in an interview. You know, that you shouldn't really just, you know, tell everybody all the details of what you're working on. You kind of want it to be a surprise, you know. It's one of the things that motivates you to keep going is, you know, like, oh, I'm just gonna drop this on them. They're gonna think it's amazing, you know. So yeah, I don't believe in really, you know, dropping too many details.
That's fair. Well, I mean, what else can you add about the fact that we're basically having you know, we already had our entertainment business, and in some ways gaming business also ruined by this politics and agenda pushing being inserted in here, and now it's threatening our beloved paleontology hobby. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think we can is there anything in particular we can do and to stop it from happening and to keep this hobby's integrity whole, and just give us your perspective and thoughts on this?
Nah, I don't really have any suggestions. You know, just let people do what they want to do. You know, it just bothers me that there's so many people out there that are trying to make this a package deal. Like, if you want to be part of the science, you know, you have to toe the line, and it's just it's sad. You know, why can't we just cooperate where we can, and, you know, just go our separate ways where we can't? Like, understand that, you know, I have different views, you have different views, and, you know, really this hobby is an escape for me, you know, from the doldrums of daily life. And you know, I don't really want all the horrible events that are going on in the world brought into it. So yeah, I like to keep that separation there. I just wish we could all just set aside our differences and get along. Yeah, man, I sound like I sound like Miss America. Yeah, go ahead.
It's like it's one of those things, you know, when what was the film? I think it was it John Wick? I think it was John Wick. You know, when they go into this lobby room at the hotel reception and the hotel bar, whatever, they're not allowed to, you know, to do any killings or shootings in there because it's a neutral ground and it's very strict in that sense. So everybody kind of, even if they are like enemies and stuff, they cannot shoot each other. They can sit down for a drink, but as soon as they exit the building, then that's when the whole thing goes. Yeah, exactly. Weapons down. That's it. Yeah, and I think this is kind of something that I'm looking at here. That I want it to be that if you come to this hobby, we forget whatever is happening there. Even if outside we absolutely hate each other's guts, when we're here, we forget that. I mean, it doesn't mean like we forget it literally, but we put that aside specifically to not poison this hobby and to not poison this environment and just let it go. Because at the end of the day, private messages exist. We can always meet up if we have to, and we can always have a conversation outside of this environment, to not have it, you know, out there for everyone to see who it doesn't even concern, probably. So anyway, is there
right? Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, good. Yeah, right. Let's just not toxify this environment, you know, so that you know, because like when I know that whenever I get into an internet debate or fight, it affects me emotionally. You know, it takes me a couple days to kind of come down from that, you know, because I'm all gassed up and like just ready to go. But,
yeah, I'm the same as well. You know, I try to hold it together, but then if something like really stupid happens, and I literally start having allergic reactions to stupidity, and I just feel like going Joe Pesci, be like, yeah, you motherfucker, you know, like this. I just start cringing and just going crazy about it. You know, I mean, I have a bit of a temper in that sense, so it takes me a lot of effort to keep myself together, not to kind of go apeshit. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and I would imagine that, you know, like with me, cuts into your creative time, you know, because you just want to get right back at it. You know, you got to have that last word or something. So I just wish that didn't happen.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, the good news, well, let's just say this. Bad news is we cannot force, of course, and not that we intend to force anyone into anything, but we cannot make other people change. But what we can do, and that's the good news, is we can change ourselves and show examples and demonstrate. If it's truly the better way to do it, we can demonstrate, and if it works, then we just simply prove it by testing. Use scientific method, as I like to say. So, anyways, I want to thank you for coming to the show and giving us your perspective. So let's see if we can go back. Okay, so who was next in the circle? I think Aaron, we are coming back to you now. So is there anything that you have come up with while you've been sitting there listening to us talking? Is there anything you want to say, my man?
Yeah, cheers, man, and well, and cheers for sharing your perspective with us too. It's just that I actually I'm overcome with the thought that it's so good to actually have a community where we can most certainly come together and just enjoy the hobby and share our passion together. I'm just happy to know that that I'm not alone in this, basically. And I'm happy to, have these acquaintances with you guys to share the passion with. So yeah, it's I'm very happy to say that, and hopefully we can also come together and counter these issues together. By just simply creating an environment where people can come in and just share their passion and also to share their work without having any sort of politics or social issues be involved. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's pretty much it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right on. Because
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, you know. Of course, there will be situations when people are gonna do something that needs to be addressed. You cannot just leave it like that because, you know, certain things need to be addressed and called out, like that
Yeah.
situation that happened on Twitter with you and Mike.
Mhm.
As I said before in a private, and I'll say that now, I can even sometimes, you know, tolerate when it's coming my direction and might even let it go. But if it comes towards people I care about or people I love and etc., or it's my
Mhm.
subscribers or my friends, I am not gonna stand for it. I'm gonna take up arms against that, and that's it. It's like you're either gonna with me. If you ain't ready to walk the walk, don't be talking that talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
So, and that's what I'm
100%.
once again wanted to say. If RJ, once again, if you are watching, you gotta come in here, either have a conversation, put it all on the table, put it to public scrutiny, and let the audience decide for themselves how they feel about who is right and who's wrong and etc. And just let's actually put it to rest once and for all.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to come here and talk to me directly or to Aram or whoever, to Mike, etc., doesn't matter, anyone in this case, if you don't want to do that, then stop shit posting, stop attacking myself and my friends, and keep your dirty paws off this whole thing, and then we ain't gonna trouble you no more. It's very simple. Don't touch, don't fucking, I tell you what, don't poke the bear and it ain't gonna hurt you. Okay? If you're gonna be doing that, then we're gonna be continuing to call this out. We're gonna continue to capitalize on your dumbassery or whatever, and until you get the message. So either you come in here and have a chat, or zip it and let's get on with our lives. But if you decide to come in here, own everything that happened and take responsibility like an adult, like a man, then we're more than happy to have you part of our community as well. We're nice people actually, however counterintuitive it might sound to you. If you're watching, we're actually very good people here, and we will let everything go and put it behind us and just start fresh. That's perfectly fine as well, and I think many people can support me in that as well. I'm pretty sure we're not here evil. I mean, I know I said that I've embraced the dark side, but you know, I can make exceptions.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, well said, my friend. Just, but actually, there's something else that I actually wanted to mention, and something that's much more broad than the paleontology or paleoart community. When we're talking about this issue specifically, another field where I feel that politics or social issues mainly shouldn't be involved in is, of course, the entertainment industry, which is another, broader field. Because, recently, due to recent events, though, I saw on Twitter, where one of a let's just call him a Jurassic World fan. I'm not going to call out anyone or just name them. A Jurassic World fan wrote to Colin Trevorrow and said, or Trevorrow, however you want to pronounce it, wrote to him like, Colin, what? I love your movies, but you haven't said a word about the recent events. Not a single word. That's not cool. You know, something of that sort. And I wrote there like, Jesus Christ! I mean, just stop forcing everyone, you know, to express an opinion on certain issues, or especially some political issues. Stop forcing everyone to express an opinion.
Here we go again about the same thing that we've been talking about for God knows how long now.
Yeah,
it's exact same nonsense.
You know what angered me about it the most is not the fact that that guy wrote to Colin Trevorrow and said, you know, say something. That's another issue. But the biggest issue that is more general is that eventually that may lead to certain narratives or certain agendas being implemented into the Jurassic franchise. Now, we can, of course, all disagree in terms of creativity, about creative issues. Sorry for stuttering. About creative issues, like, you know, how the story wasn't good enough after, the second film, and which film we like, we don't like, etc., etc. But again, now we're faced with the problem that even in these films that have shaped our inner world, and have created a passion for a certain subject, now all of a sudden just start to implement these sort of political agendas and just start to tell you how to think. Like when in itself, that product, you know, a movie has to be a form of escapism. Once more, as we were talking about, you know, paleoart or paleontology. You know, it's extremely dangerous. And it's going to make the community even more polarized, as it has done in Star Wars. Thankfully, the Jurassic community isn't as bad as that. Although, of course, there are a lot of issues, but still, it's not as bad as Star Wars, as far as I've seen. You know, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I can definitely tell I've got the whole impression.
Star Wars just got ruined completely by this nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. So, when people who are supposed to entertain the masses start injecting their own political beliefs, it will make everything more polarized and more divided, the whole communities, and it's absolutely atrocious. And also, it doesn't serve them well, you know, in terms of their business. You know, just one of the things that should be mentioned as well. But apparently, some just don't care because they're so financially powerful. I understand. Okay, fine, but still, it's just something that should be completely far away from the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
and
it's as if, like, you know, when you're watching something for entertainment, and it's the same here as well. In a hobby, when we are trying to just, you know, exchange our creativity and etc., we want to be entertained when it comes to the movies and games. We want to have experiences. We want to experience something surreal, whatever, cool. We don't want you to use this to basically preach at us and lecture us about things. You know, we don't need that. We never ask you to. We don't want that. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean you cannot have an opinion, but we don't need to hear it. Not in this context.
Yeah, exactly.
If we wanted to hear your opinion, why do we want to? We don't want it to be interjected here. We can always private message you about it if I really want to know your opinion. Or we can go to specific forums for that specific topic where it's perfectly normal to discuss these things. And that's a different story. Yeah. But in here, I don't want to hear nothing of that. I don't want, you know, characters to basically be shoehorned because my diversity or representation, or I don't know, this man bad, you know, that man bad. It's just, I don't want that. It's
redundant.
It's redundant. It makes for very crappy quality entertainment. I mean, do I have to really, you know, yeah, orange man bad, whatever, yeah, anything, white man bad, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to be preached none of that. I mean, I get it. You might have your reasons to think certain way you think. That's your business. That's your problem. Leave it out of here. Just give me my entertainment. I'm not paying you, my cash to go to the movies to be preached at and to be lectured at. If that's the case, then don't be surprised when you start losing money. Hashtag solo lost money. Anyway, I can really rant so long about it because I see this going around everywhere. I see Geeks and Gamers channel cover this a lot. I see all other, associated channels like Anna the Star Wars Girl says this a lot as well. There's all of these people who I really like and basically defend the menace from the entertainment industry side of things. They have been covering these things for years, basically. Especially since this Disney trilogy came out, it kind of started this whole thing, and that's insane. That's insane, man. Like how you can ruin something that used to be a really good quality product with its flaws, of course. Nothing is perfect. We don't ask for it to be perfect. We ask to be entertained. We ask to feel good, and we can escape and we can have a laugh about all the silly things that are happening there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we can't do that now because of all that stuff. And all we're seeing is the blatant agenda being shoved down our throats.
Yeah. That's because eventually big businesses cave to the mob. When they're being lectured at by some individuals, quite a minority, by the way, and they just start to cave to them. And by the way, one thing that I also want to mention about the Jurassic franchise, you know why I mentioned that? Because I already see the tendency of such things occurring in other installments. Because in Fallen Kingdom, while they are minor, they are still there. They are still references. Yeah, that Kent Wheatley comment on Zia's character, nasty woman, or for example, the I don't even remember his name. The big business owner who was cooperating with Eli Mills. Short guy. When the Indoraptor looks into the elevator, and there's him and two other people
that nobody remembers them.
Yeah, and then you see, when the Indoraptor roars, you see this sort of hair going up, and it's. I mean, a lot of people could read that it was a Trump reference. While I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was still there. So. You see, this is the stuff that I just don't understand why it is so imperative for these people to include all this. It's just please, we here something that other who may be neutral or on the fence about the things that we're saying, try to understand. We are not saying that you should have this type of opinion or you should think a certain way. We're just saying that. Lose the political bullshit. Lose the whole social justice or any of that sort of subject. Just lose it. You don't need that. Trust me. It's not going to bring you more financial success. It's not. Factually, this is not going to happen. It's going to be the opposite. Now, if you have completely convinced yourself that you're on the right side of the argument, then that's kind of your loss, because you're in a position where you have to be neutral about these things. You simply have to entertain people, make them escape their realities from time to time, to be more happy, not be divided, because there are always going to be people who don't think the same way. You don't have to villainize those people who don't think the same way as you do.
You know what? I agree 100%, man. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to appease. You know me for a fact that I ain't no appeaser. I hate that shit. And I really wish that these entertainment businesses and these computer games, etc., that they would actually really do their job at researching and understanding that the silent majority who actually are going into the movies are not going to receive that well, or the fandom, or the main people who basically fans who are because when you talk about things like Game of Thrones, Jurassic Park, Marvel, etc., etc., Star Wars, it's the fans who support it by buying merchandise, by going to movies, also going there repeatedly, not just once. They buy a second time, tickets, and then they are the ones who bring the normies into this whole thing as well. I mean, I lost count how many people I introduced to Game of Thrones when it was still good, until of course it went to shit completely, at which point I felt like an absolute fucking idiot for doing this. But I decided to just quickly get out of the room at that point. Like I wasn't even there. Just, I'm out of here. Basically, this is the thing, man. These vocal minorities, they don't buy things. They don't buy anything. They just sit around the Twitter and moan and groan and scream and and whatever, smell their own farts, as I said before. They don't they don't pay for merchandise. They don't buy shit. And what happens is that when you cater to them, not only are you not going to make them happy anyway, because they cannot be appeased once you give in. Once they take a centimeter, they're going to take a freaking kilometer, an inch, and a freaking mile principle. And that's not going to work. And then what happens is that when you have the silent majority, they are the ones who are just going to speak much louder than any of their words. They're just going to silently walk away and not want to pay a buck. And that's going to be the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to always, for them, to not cater to them, don't bend their knee to them. And of course, I mean, must I always bring this up, the absolute hypocrisy that the entertainment business is doing, when how they virtue signal about these recent events, and then all of a sudden they would not, speak up about how in some countries these very people are actually bullied directly, and how their Disney Star Wars Force Awakens poster, promotional poster, the Chinese poster was shrinked, with John Boyega was shrinked.
Yep.
Just because,
pretty much,
they don't like black people in China, or so I heard.
It's much worse than that, I can tell you. It's one of the worst forms of racism, and they're not just being bullied. I mean, they're being persecuted too.
Well, exactly.
And I can even bring up
for this, for what you look like, is by actually just making it a crime, basically, to be that way.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's apparent racism, and I can even bring up another hypocritical incident. For example, Black Panther. There was this poster with Chadwick Boseman's portrait, and he has the mask taken off.
Yep.
That's the first version of the poster. In China, they were forced to cover up his face with his mask.
Yep, they put a mask on.
So yeah, I mean, it's hypocritical.
Remember all this non-stop virtue signaling, how Black Panther was it's like the first movie that has black cast. Dude, go back to film history, for God's sake. Blade, Spawn, I don't know how many more. Mace Windu in Star Wars, like one of the coolest Star Wars characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can go on. I mean, there are many like romantic comedies out there that I remember that I watched, or other kind of cool films like drama films like Boys in the Hood, Friday, anthology. There's like all sorts of films. My God. And they say it like it's the first time ever. What do you mean the first time ever? Some of the coolest films out there were featuring, the ethnic cast. Actually, if I am going to be observant, in that sense, because it was actually very popular. We watched these movies as kids as well when I was growing up. In our so-called Armenian hood. So so they are wrong if they say that we're not, whatever. And let's actually go back and see what Jeffrey wrote in here. So shall I read it, or do you want to read it?
Yeah,
I'll read it. Fine. Shotgun. So, back to Nupe for a bit. He says he sees no reason to refrain from being political based on his flimsy theoretical excuse that conflates terms and so screws up the idea. I can give him a reason. We need neutral forums to learn how other people think. If you can persuade someone with opposing opinions using an understanding of their values, you do your cherished ideals a disservice. Like that Sting song says. Oh yeah, the song by Sting. I mean, okay, I didn't get it at first. If you love an ideal, set it free. You gotta learn how to find the common ground. Look at how many people in this forum, with undoubtedly variety of political opinions and backgrounds, have united in frustration with the haranguing, the persecution, and the bad guano rhetorical sabotage that typify, I'm obviously gonna be butchering some of these words, modern discourse at large. Fuck yes. Yeah. And that's like, okay, I'm giving this one, I'll tell you what, I'll give this one 100 if I find it, definitely, because this is it right there. And I could not have said it better, and part of the reason why Jeffrey is better at saying these things is because he's a pro in English. But that's definitely helpful. But yeah, I cannot find the 100. Should I just put a strawberry there? Fuck it. Now let's just put a thumbs up. Right. So, and this is the thing, man. I mean, you gotta. This is the whole point, isn't it? You gotta really let it flow. You know what I mean? Don't just try to contain it, like constrain it. I mean, you know, it's like this is what they don't get. He's basically gonna be. I bet your ass. Okay, I bet your ass that he's gonna at one point when somebody is gonna be on a different side, and if they're gonna end up in an argument with somebody there, and the other person decides to go political, and he for some reason is not going to be in the mood for it because everything is about emotion with these people, he's going to be the one bitching that, oh, you're getting too political here, you're being toxic. I can almost bet you Neverland that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
because
exactly
the goalposts
right.
are constantly shifting. The goalposts are always going to be shifting.
Yeah, definitely. Like when it's good for him, good for them. They're going to take a different stance to it. So yeah, that's 100% true.
That's the other thing as well. When we were talking on Facebook, how I went about, you know, that's before, by the way, the group Feather Nazis that I referenced got deleted. Because that happened after we had that interaction, which was kind of funny coincidence. I don't believe in conspiracy theories much, but that actually does beg some kind of conspiracy theory, whether or not, you know, it has anything to do with me having him this conversation and him going around with this, you know, survey, asking people, you know, what about the toxicity in paleo art, and then I referenced that, but you're a member of that Feather Nazis group, so. Does that mean you are basically associating with people who call themselves that and with their, you know, motto of you will be corrected? So basically it's not okay. It's basically, you know, very kind of dogmatic, very firm position that whatever it is that you're saying, you're going to be corrected, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting... let's see if we can tag him. Right, let's see if he joins in. But yeah, it's basically like then I just said, you know, how does that basically come together? That seems to be a little bit contradictory. So it's either that or that, because that community is responsible for some of the worst toxicities that we've had, you know, in our overall community. So how does that work out? Then of course he tried to weasel himself out of it by being like, oh, you're trying to get me. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to get you. I'm trying to understand what's going on. I'm trying to understand what do I make of this. If you're gonna convince me of something, or if you're gonna at least wanna hear some kind of opinion, provided that I'm even allowed to give you an opinion, because who knows? Then You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you? Why are you associating with that? And why are you all of a sudden concerned with toxicity? I thought that was perfectly acceptable. So if that's, he's like, yeah, it's just a parody, and I'm like, okay, if that's just a parody, does that mean I can just refer to you as a feder Nazi? Is that okay? And then he said no, something like along those lines, in short. And I'm like, but you just said that it's a parody, but then you say it's not okay. So what how about that? That sounds a little bit. Again,
Yeah, what's the context here?
It's basically like inconsistent here, you know. I'm not sure how to respond to this. Can you help me out here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just sorry. My calculator cannot just add this up. You know, it just doesn't work. So, and then of course it led into this other respect thing and all of that stuff. So let's actually read some comments and see what else is happening here. Got some feed going on. So good.
Waylon's got a good question actually.
This goes unedited. Like if someone is just uplifting minority voices, that isn't toxic. For people like Nupe, they shifted the overtone window.
Overtone.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they shifted the window so far left. Anything outside that small variance in left-leaning belief is hate. But the thing is, as I said, I'm not trying to make it about which side it's leaning on. It's about the fact that we just want no politics here, full stop.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
period for American audience here. Because full stop, we use full stop in Britain and period is used in America. So it actually comes off funny in the UK when someone says period. So, but yeah, anyway, that's what we are all about. It's not even whether it's left or right. It's about the fact that, you know, we don't want politics in our hobby. We want to keep it clean. And
yeah.
Now let's see what else. So, but it's just dragging political issues in Oh, that's another thing. That's very interesting. I've seen how people were getting, you know, hounded at each other, you know, because apparently somehow according to some, just because they found out that somebody, I don't want to give out names, obviously, I just want to give a very brief example. If you know it, you will know it, and some of you already probably do, once I describe the situation. And one of the guys, basically, somehow it came out that one of the guys, you know, voted for Republicans, and the other guys obviously are not on board with that. So all of a sudden, this guy who voted Republican has to lose his credibility for whatever reason, because somehow that invalidates everything that he's been inputting into the community. I don't understand how that half-assed backwards logic works. I honestly cannot see what the hell is going on with that. And they were hounding him over it. And then they were saying, yeah, it would be better for the world if it wasn't like this and this. And I'm just thinking, I didn't comment anything, but I'm just thinking to myself, the level of arrogance and, you know, of how much it's basically, you know, they are basically just becoming arbiters of what is good for the whole world. How fucking dare you speak about what's good for the world? Maybe you should look yourself in the mirror and start with yourself first and take some damn responsibility, grow up and act like an adult first, and then we can talk about the world or the guy next door or whatever. But until then, don't tell me about nothing about the world until you sort yourself out. You know what I'm saying, man? I'm just so sick of that, you know, seeing that kind of nonsense.
Definitely, yeah. But I actually would like to address Waylon's question here. He asks, given that the political witch hunts and virtue signaling don't stop, and let's be honest, they won't, what will the future of our hobby look like? How bad will things get? Here's my answer to that. If you don't mind,
you go first.
Like
don't worry.
I think the answer would be in creating something of our own and influencing the field as much as we can with our own, from our own perspective. As in, of course, we can try to combat that, for sure. The things that are already in place that, you know, may change or turn for the worse, that's very much possible. But what we can do is create something of our own and enjoy it ourselves. So as in, not technically just counter what's being destroyed right now, or the forces that try to destroy what we love. Create something of our own. I think that would be the main solution to that problem. But when you say things won't change, that's I can understand why you feel that way, because when you log into social media and you see all this negativity and you see all these people posting and also making their political beliefs and agendas and narratives be known, and using what you genuinely love as a way to do it, as a source to implement their political beliefs, it can be extremely disheartening. But what you can do is find people who you're like-minded with, and also create what you love, and in a way, just ditch what's out there that's really bad, and just enjoy what you have created and what others have created that you're like-minded with. So I think that's one of the ways to. I think that's the main way to approach it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I can agree more or less, and I mean not more or less, pretty much mostly, if anything, to be honest, because at this point, here is something else I wanted to say about that. That I think, yes, 100% that virtue signaling is never gonna stop. People are gonna continue doing this for as long as they're around. It has been happening as well. It just wasn't quite as in our face, because social media again has become a thing where now, if back in the days we used to think how celebrities were these people out there living in a completely different, separate world, physically, to the point that we were not even able to come to them closer, and it was kind of, it felt like they were almost not people, and we didn't really know a whole lot about them. But right now, you can talk to them directly on Twitter, on Instagram, etc. And most of the times, in many cases, they respond, and you kind of realize that they are just regular people. And then when you start seeing some of the shit that they say, most of which is absolutely dumb, it's only becoming even more apparent that it's kind of proving this point that I once heard from a very, very clever woman that I met a while back. And she said, never meet your heroes, because you're going to realize they're just normal, fucked up human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right, yeah.
That's why one of those things that, why I would, even if they're like, I gotta be honest, I was lucky to have attended a session of a questions and answers session in a theater here in London when Al Pacino was coming here, and I actually saw him just going around the room with a microphone, directly interacting with people. It was really nice, it was cool, and I don't remember if Al Pacino has openly ever expressed anything political, not that I am aware of anyway, and but the guy seemed like very polite. He was very chill. He was very humble, very kind of cool about everything. And he was one of the maybe exceptions in that sense of, in terms of meeting your heroes, that I actually didn't mind, because, there was nothing about him that gave me any reasons to be disappointed. But when it came to many others, like Brad Pitt and all of those other guys out there, like Robert De Niro, etc., I hear some of the stuff that they're saying and trying to insert into this media. It's just crazy, it's completely... It's kind of like almost makes it more plausible, this whole thing about how Romans used to treat, entertainment workers on the same level as they would, treat paid prostitution, basically.
Yeah.
It was considered to be the same class of society at that time, and well, right now that's probably not the case, of course, but it kind of doesn't surprise me in a way. Why? Because by their stupid behavior, they are giving that idea more credibility subsequently. But I digress.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we got. So, yeah, I think this whole thing started more or less, it started from 2014-ish roughly, but I think it kind of became more prominent in 2016, because it was one of those, crazy moments that everybody just went apeshit, and yeah, I don't want to get into details because we're not here to discuss that, but that's basically, to answer that question, I think that's when it started kind of going completely insane. But in a good way, it means that a lot of things are getting more and more out there. They're becoming more bolder. They actually are becoming more arrogant, and they think that they got it all figured out, and we're just sitting there mostly just laughing at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see what else. Do you want to read whichever next one? Much longer. Oh, much longer than that. Jeffrey says. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's well, Jeffrey has probably been around longer than either
Most
of us.
of us.
Most of us,
Yeah.
yeah. So he would probably have a better recollection. Okay, yeah. No, I ain't saying you old. I'm just saying you wise.
Yeah. Oh, our apologies, Jeffrey. We weren't trying to be
Oh my god!
ageist.
Oh my god! No, no, no. We cannot be ageist towards Jeffrey.
No. Yeah, it's I actually want to say something about
Yeah, go
that.
for it. Go
Yeah,
for it.
you know, about the West in general, because as I said when we started, the media that influenced me during my childhood, and it's thanks to that that I'm able to pursue my passion and to have it be a full-time job for me, because without it this whole thing would not have happened. But it all the whole that type of media and content all came from the West in general. And my family has been pretty close with Western culture in general, and I've fortunately I've been blessed to have traveled here and there and have seen some things. I've never been to the United States, surprisingly, but you know that's bound to happen. Of course, I'm going to make that a reality. But seeing as how from nations and countries that the content that I was able to enjoy, these nations have taken such downward spiral in so many ways. It's very heartbreaking for me, because a lot of people would ask me, like, dude, what do you even care? You're not even from any of those countries. Why do you care so much? The thing is that I have always had that world as a thing to sort of cling on to, as sort of again another way of escapism, in a sense. So to see how, in many aspects, in my opinion, a lot of institutions in those nations are crumbling, and that is also having an influence on the things that I enjoy a lot, and most of us do. It's very saddening for me, and again, I know that I'm not even from those countries, but it's something that's very close to me. So that's why it's so heartbreaking for me. So that's something that I wanted to interject, and voice my opinion on, and talk from a personal perspective.